What is up, everybody? Welcome into the Fantasy Six
What's up?
Pack
What's up?
YouTube channel for the final game preview show of the season. I'm your host, Dylan Clemens, and here with me, as they are every Friday or Saturday, are my two co-hosts, Mike Kaplan and Ike Body. What's going on, fellas? How you feeling now that we are at the end of the fantasy season?
Fantastic.
It's a long season. I mean, I will not
It's
complain.
been quick,
at all
to be
because-
honest. It feels like just yesterday we were writing team previews.
Exactly. That's why
Yeah.
I won't complain because I mean we're gonna be in the off season. Where's football? We want football.
Absolutely.
So, I won't complain at all. But
we're going to be begging for a chart. We're going to be begging for an Easton Stick Jarrett Stidham matchup like we're getting this weekend,
Especially since NBA sucks.
When June, July starts hitting, you watch your mouth about the NBA. Good evening, Jamie. Glad you're here with us, man.
What's up, Albert?
What's up, Albert?
Hey,
glad you're here as well. Before we jump into the game previews, I just want to remind you, please hit that like button. Please subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Head on over to fantasy6pack.net/plans, become an all-access member. You get access to our award-winning rankings, draft cheat sheets, which, guys, fantasy baseball right around the corner. And I know we're not huge fantasy baseball players, but we'll be in the fantasy six-pack league as long as Joe's doing it. So I know I'm going to be using that draft cheat sheet for that. I don't know about you guys, but
you betcha.
You get access to the F6P Discord as well, where you get custom advice for your leagues and DFS builds. The DFS builds and access to the DFS projections and stacking tool is really where it is, guys. Dave Eddy, Keith Fleming, Chris Robin, I'm blanking on a few names, Joe Matz, they've done a great job in the DFS realm this season. And that's going to keep going all the way through the fantasy playoffs, so make sure to check their stuff out. But without further ado, guys, what do you say we just jump right into things? And
it's sad. It's the last one.
It is, man. I got something in my eye. It might be a tear or something. But
no, it's not that. You're not sentimental.
This is one of my favorite matchups of the weekend, guys. We have the Detroit Lions taking on the Dallas Cowboys. Ike, both of these offenses are real good. This game's going to be played indoors. It's real nice. Speaking of indoors, that's where Jared Goff absolutely thrives. Even though it's on the road, do you have him as top 12 guy this week?
Borderline. I know he thrives in the dome, but he was in the dome last week against Minnesota and he struggled. And up until just now, which I decided to look what he played or how he did against Dallas last year, and it was not good. He actually only had 3 fantasy points. So it's something to be wary of. Dallas can get to the quarterback. It depends on how good the line can hold up, but I'll play him over the likes of your normal top 12, 13, 14 guy for sure, I'd say.
Would you play him over Dak or no? Or are you rolling with Dak?
No, it's Dak for sure. Dak for sure.
That's fair. What about like Tua Tagovailoa?
I played Jared Goff over him. Tua's playing probably one of the better defenses in the league.
No, they are.
He's down Jalen Waddle. Down Jalen Waddle as well, which isn't ideal.
No, they are
he's had a little bit of a down season, but
they're the number one toughest matchup against QBs, the Ravens. So
yeah,
I'd be leading.
So that's
really? Not the Browns, huh?
No, Browns are third. Jets, even after last night, Jets are still second.
Yeah, that is very interesting.
That's weird.
Look at out.
Jets would have been first if it wasn't for Flacco just straight up dicking him.
Decimating him, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's just good.
First, I saw the tweet from Underdog. First quarterback to throw 300+ yards on him since. Any guesses? Tom Brady.
Really, that's actually an interesting stat. Wow.
Yeah, over like 600 days ago.
Wow, good.
Both
stuff
over
there.
40 years old. Interesting, or around that age.
That's funny.
Looking at the other weapons in this Lions offense, though, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, you're starting both of these guys. Jahmyr Gibbs has just been everything we've wanted and more towards this back half of the season once he started to get the work. So maybe just a mental note next year, rookies coming in, guys, give them some time before you start freaking out and trading guys away, because Jahmyr Gibbs is turning into a league winner down the stretch. You're also obviously St. Brown, great stuff there. And then Sam Laporta just been great as well. But Mike, jumping over, looking at the Dallas side of things, I'm curious, Tony Pollard, how does he not find the end zone last week on that play where he just gets spun and doesn't make it, and then they fumble on the next play? Just crazy. That's been his fantasy season in a nutshell, my friend.
It is. He got almost every part of his body in the end zone except the football.
It really is. Yeah, really is just crazy stuff. Do you still have faith to play him over? I highly doubt you're playing him over Jahmyr Gibbs. That's kind of nonsense at this point. But would you play him? Would you play him over David Montgomery at least, or would you still lean Monty there?
Well, just for some context, like you said, Jahmyr Gibbs being a league winner, it's absolutely true. He's RB4, and he's getting 46 touches the past 3 weeks. All right. Montgomery, the counterpart, the RB2 in this offense, not the RB1 like Tony Pollard is in his offense, has been RB23, and he's gotten 51 touches. He's even out-touched Jahmyr Gibbs. And then you go and look at Tony Pollard, who's been, obviously terrible, RB37, but only 49 touches. Like, Montgomery is getting more touches than Pollard is, in the past 3 weeks, and Pollard's number one back. I think the Cowboys know now what they have in Pollard, and they're getting Rico Dowdle in there a little bit more, mixing him in. Pollard's still getting majority of the work, but, man, it's been a brutal season, and yes, you're trying to look for anybody over Pollard this week, especially if somehow you made it to the championship week with Pollard. I don't think you can play him in this matchup against the Lions.
Like, if you would have told me that Tony Pollard would have got this type of workload and this Dallas offense was as good as it was, you would think Tony Pollard would be what? A top 5 guy?
Oh, yeah.
It has just been a terrible season from him.
It is. He was really good as Zeke's backup, but as soon as he became the starter, just like Kenyon Drake did after, oh man,
good name pull there.
I can't think of that. David Johnson. After Kenyon Drake came in for David Johnson, I mean, we've had some occasions. Austin Ekeler after Melvin Gordon, who's actually done something well with the role, but more times than not, usually that second back that is explosive behind the first. When they get the reins, it's not that great.
Yeah, Kenyon Drake is a great name pull, man, because it just took me back to a blast from the past. Because I don't know if you guys remember coming into the fantasy industry in 2020. I was real high on 2 guys, Kenyon Drake with him as a backfield in Arizona, and then do you guys remember the other guy or no? He had one good year.
I do not, unless you're going to say Mike Davis.
Kenny Galladay.
Oh yeah, Kenny Galladay. I actually forgot about Galladay. He was one of your biggest flame out fails, but it was all right. We can't always be right.
Speaking of league winners, though, I know you guys said Jahmyr Gibbs is probably winning some. How about Breece Hall? If you had him
the last couple weeks,
dude, getting 8 to 10 targets a game, fantastic.
The last 2 weeks. Exactly. If you had the balls enough to start him in the semifinal with Simeon, and then he got you to the fantasy championship, and you played him again, that's literally all you could ask for.
Back to back
against the Browns defense.
Yeah, let's go Breece.
Yeah, that's awesome stuff from Breece Hall. The rest of the guys,
he should be a top 5 pick, top 5 running back at least.
That'll be second round. I think
Breece next year.
Round,
yeah, I agree.
Top 5 running back, probably second round.
And we touched on Dak a little bit. Ike says he's probably around quarterback 6 to 8 around there. CD obviously starting. Ferguson still a top 12 tight end every week, in my opinion. Ike, I'm sure you'd agree. You're probably ranking him around there with how good this offense. Mike, does anyone else in this offense intrigue you? Brandon Cooks, Michael Gallup, Rico Dowdle as a major dart throw here, or no?
I mean, the dart throw we've been throwing at all year in this offense, probably Brandon Cooks. He's touchdown dependent, but man, if he gets you a touchdown, he's probably going to be a top 36 wide receiver.
Yeah.
That's about it, though.
That's totally fair, and I don't know if you could really trust on.
Oh, and it's not. It's definitely not
Brandon
trust
Cooks.
either.
Yeah, no, definitely not, Mike. But it looks like we have a couple questions. Why don't you go ahead and pull a couple of those up before we jump into the next game? Do we have anything, or is Ray?
Yeah, we do. No, we
Okay.
do. We do. It's just there's a lot of comments there, boys. We love the comments, but I had to go up.
Absolutely.
Asking start 2, Austin Ekeler at Broncos, David Montgomery at Cowboys, or Zamir White at Colts. Let's just do that one first. It's for sure. I mean, out of these options, it's
I'd
for sure
do David and Ekeler.
Here's the thing:
Jacobs out.
if Jacobs is
doubtful.
out,
He's doubtful.
If Jacobs
Yeah.
is
All right,
out,
then.
I want Zamir White. But if Jacobs plays, it's Austin Ekeler, but it's ugly. It's ugly. It's ugly. Austin Ekeler has been as brutal as Stephon Diggs the past, 6 games.
I think he did finish as a top 24 running back last week, though. I could be wrong. I know. I'm just saying it's something to look at, but it helps knowing that. But I would go Dave Montgomery and Zamir White. Jacobs is out.
Yeah, it's dependent on Jacobs, Ray, for you. Dylan, you the same?
I might lean Zamir White here over Austin Ekeler.
Even with Jacobs?
Yeah, we were.
Even Jacobson is what I'm saying.
It's
dependent on Jacobs.
Yeah, no, he's doubtful. So I'm assuming he's going to be out. Yeah.
Right, so yeah, we're on the same.
I agree with you guys. Yep, absolutely. Okay. Sorry,
but I mean, we've very professional. We've seen some strange actives. I mean, Max Crosby was doubtful 1 week on the the whole week for the Raiders, and he was a surprise active. I know defensive player, but still, it happens. That's why I say it's dependent on Jacobs. But then he's also asking for a tight end here. He's got Everett at the Broncos, Kraft at Vikings, all 6 points. Standard league. Not standard league. Standard 6 points per touchdown.
Like, I don't know. I don't think it is. Musgrave came back to practice.
Isn't Keenan Allen coming back, though?
No, he got ruled out.
Yes,
he is. Okay.
That's the other factor. So it's Gerald Everett for that.
And Joshua Palmer is now, right, too?
And Josh Palmer. They both got ruled out. So that one's Everett for me.
All right, so
Allen's been out. Yeah, when Keenan Allen's been out, Everett's been seeing 8+ targets a game. So just that's what you want from a tight end.
It also helps that Palmer's out too.
Correct. All right, then he's got Jalen Hurts against the Cardinals or Dak Prescott against the Lions. I know it's brutal, but I still lead Jalen Hurts here.
Yeah, I think Jalen Hurts is a safer play, even though your
opponent
better matchup.
Better matchup. Speedy Lamb.
Yeah, I was just saying that. Yeah, I think I still think you go Jalen. I think Jalen could absolutely smash the Cardinals this weekend. Maybe it's a get-right game for this Eagles offense, and they just roll. You know what I mean?
Cardinals have been very giving this year to just fantasy points in general. They're the 8th best matchup for QBs. I mean, so Jalen Hurts you're normally playing anyways. I know Dak Prescott's been hot, but he's got a tougher matchup, so go Hurts.
I would go Dak on that one, but hey, Hurts is fine.
Don't listen to Ike. And then he said he did start Breece Hall in his league and the Browns defense.
Love it, Ray.
Good start.
Yep.
All
That's fine. I started Breece Hall on Browns defense too, so we're in the same boat.
Albert here says Zamir White over Tony Pollard this week.
That one's a lock for me, actually. I would go Zamir White over Tony Pollard.
If we're working under the assumption Josh Jacobs is not going to play, it's Zamir White.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looked good last week.
But if Josh Jacobs is surprisingly playing, it's ugly, but it's Tony Pollard. And I'm going to keep saying it because it's possible that Jacobs could still play for some reason. I think one more. Thanks for the question here, Patty. Start 1 PPR. He's got Zeke, Aaron Jones, James Conner. Oh, that's brutal. If there wasn't Aaron Jones in there, it'd be Zeke, but it's Aaron Jones.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's Aaron Jones as well.
If you can find a way to get Zeke in your lineup, though.
Oh, man. James Conner's been good lately, though. Pretty sure he's had back-to-back 15+. So
tough matchup against the Eagles, which you don't love.
That's fair. Ramondre's out for Zeke. Is A.J. Dillon out?
Questionable.
Man, you can't go wrong with either one of them, to be honest.
I agree. It's a tough question, but I lean Aaron Jones. I like what we saw last week from
Zeke is typically.
I go James Conner. He's had back-to-back solid weeks, so that's why I go.
Zeke is typically an RB2. The reason he finished as an RB1 last week is because he was facing the number 2 best matchup for running backs against Denver.
It's not back-to-back RB1 weeks, though.
Again, matchup based though. I still lean Aaron Jones. He had a good week coming off the first couple of weeks off the injury. He did not look great. I'll give you that. But last week though, I mean, he came.
I guess it depends on AJ Dillon. If he plays, I probably wouldn't play AJ or Aaron Jones.
All right, one more before we hop back in here. He's got Jalen Warren or Calvin Ridley full point PPR as flex. Pick one.
Calvin Ridley.
Still go. Yeah, the
That's
ceiling's
Ridley.
so much higher with Calvin Ridley, even with CJ.
I remember
Beathard
seeing
at
he's seeing
quarterback,
A+
but-
targets.
No, he's actually. I'll talk more about it when we get to the Jags game, but he's seeing an insane amount of targets. It's Ridley, and then his defense: Denver, Houston, Rams. Who they play? Houston. Who do you play? Houston. Tennessee,
Denver gets
I
the
believe.
Chargers and gets an Easton stick.
Yep, and then
Baseball bat.
and then Tennessee for Houston.
I think that's where I would go.
Yeah, I don't trust the Rams defense. And I heard that Will Levis is practicing, so he might be playing. So
Who Rams play?
on that one.
The Rams play.
I don't really trust him either way. Their defense is Aaron Donald, and that's it.
Tyrod Taylor and the Giants. The problem
Look
is
on
I don't know if Tyrod's going to turn the ball over a ton. You know, he's kind of
He
a
came-
conservative
Well, yeah,
quarterback.
he came in after DeVito was turning the ball over a ton, and the offense looked better. So I lean Denver that one.
Yep.
All
All
right,
right. Let's go
Miami.
ahead, Mike.
This is the game of the year, as we say every week. But this one's
Game
for
of the
number
year
one
of the
seed.
week.
This one's the number one. This one's the number one seed on the line here with the Miami Dolphins and the Baltimore Ravens. And a little bit, if you didn't know, the Bills are 2 games back behind the Dolphins. The Bills, if the Dolphins lose this game, will only be 1 game back behind the Dolphins. And you know who they play in Week 18? The Buffalo
Is it the
Bills.
Dolphins?
That was
Buffalo
some
Bills
just
and Dolphins.
classic math right there. Just
So-
classic.
You
I
shut
love
your
it.
face. So this is an important game for the Dolphins here because they could possibly lose the division, honestly, with this game if they don't win
that's
this one.
Definitely
So,
is a big important game.
a lot on the line. This is another good one.
Like, unfortunately for the Dolphins in this big important game, Jalen Waddle is not going to be available with the high ankle sprain. Obviously, Tyreek Hill's the man. But outside of him, is there someone in the pass catching core who's going to take the spot of Waddle and maybe be snuck into flex territory this week?
The only one that has a shot is Cedric Wilson. Even then, with your championship on the line, with money on the line, with your trophy on the line, I would not even risk it against this team. Not even remotely.
Yeah. No, I totally get it. Tough
It's
matchup
Tyreek
against the
Hill.
Ravens.
Not in the circle of Tross Fokker. Sorry.
No. Tyreek Hill, and you can get away with Mostert, maybe A-Chain if you
I
think
know,
he'll bust out.
even A-Chan is a little.
He's been struggling.
sketchy. Yeah, like
Yeah, he's making me eat
since-
crow.
since he's playing the Ravens, what would you rather play Gus Edwards or do you rather play Devon A-Chan?
I mean, honestly, what I look at A-Chan is he's your moonshot. If you need a guy who, you played against
Fair
Brees
shot
Hall,
catching a ball, too.
you played against Joe Flacco, you played against Njoku, and you need to kind of shoot for more points, put in A-Chan. But if you want to play it safe, go Gus Edwards.
Agreed.
I remember I was listening to the Ringer podcast today, and I want to say it was Heifetz that said, "Is he like the Gabe Davis of running backs?"
Never know what to do.
And Danny Kelly got so offended. It's like, no, Gabe Davis was zeros.
Yeah, and there's signs that point to Devon A-Chain being good. There's in the underlying stats and stuff with Gabe Davis. I got caught up in the eye test with him because
Try telling you, man.
the underlying stats were all atrocious for Gabe Davis, and come to find out, that got me. So the eye test was wrong there.
Sometimes the eye test isn't always right. Wink, wink.
That is true.
Weird.
Looking at the Baltimore Ravens side of things, guys, this team's humming. They just absolutely smacked around the San Francisco 49ers last week. Lamar Jackson is playing at a somewhat of an MVP level. You can have an argument about if his numbers are good enough to be MVP, but he is the leader in Vegas right now. But let's talk about the running backs because this is kind of the meat of their offense. And Pete Mitchell obviously out with the knee injury. Mike, after 1 week with Gus and Hill, who's the guy you want?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Hill saw more snaps last week, 61, to 42 for Edwards. He saw more touches, 13 to 10. But Edwards, I mean, as we know, saw more red zone touches usually, but it wasn't as much as I thought it'd be. It was only 3 to 2. So it's a lot closer of a split than I would have expected, but I'm going to just trust the Gus bus because we've seen 7 top 24 finishes from him this year, and Justice Hill's only at 2. So I'm just going to kind of play it safe there, out of that backfield. Give me Gus. Little
Totally
touchdown
fair.
dependent, though.
Totally fair. I think if you picked up Isaiah Likely, you're still probably starting him here. You're okay starting Zay Flowers in most instances. Odell Beckham intrigue you at all? Nelson Aguilar, I want to say, caught a touchdown last week. Do either of those guys intrigue either of you, or could we go ahead and move on?
We can move on. It's Likely and Flowers, even though ODB had his moment to shine a couple weeks ago when Ike was on it. It's over.
Isaiah Likely or Jake Ferguson, guys, if you had to make that choice.
Likely.
Same.
Totally fair. Next game we got here, guys, an AFC East matchup. The New England Patriots taking on the Buffalo Bills. Like, is it still Zeke or bust in this Pats offense right now, or is Juju and Demario Douglas kind of working their way back into flex territory?
If you're in 12-plus team leagues, Juju and Demario can be used. They both were wide receiver 3s last week, so I guess you can take that as you will. But to me, the only one is Zeke that you should be starting in that offense, especially with Hunter Henry out or questionable, whatever he is.
Yeah, we talked last week about how touchdown dependent Hunter Henry is, so you got to take him as he is if he is available anyways. Mike, looking at the Bills side of things, are you handing your ticket to get on the Gabe Davis roller coaster this week?
No, I do not trust Gabe Davis to do anything. So with that, now with that said, though, I mean, if we're going to talk about Achane being a moonshot, here's your guy. If you played against Breece Hall, Joe Flacco, somebody who just fucking pounded your hopes into the dust. I said hopes. I said hopes. Get your mind out of the gutter, Dylan. I know it's late. But if they pounded your hopes into dust when it came to the championship week, I mean, you got to chase some points, and Gabe Davis can blow up and get you, a 30-point explosion, but don't trust it. He can easily get you 0 like we've seen. Now, please ask me this next question. Because
what about the alpha wide receiver in this offense, or so we thought, in Stephon Diggs, who's been real quiet as of late? Well, what do we do with him this week? And after Mike answers, I'm honestly curious to where you have Stephon Diggs ranked this week.
So if you have any wide receiver questions, hey, this wide receiver, that wide receiver, use Stephon Diggs as your barometer this week. All right. It's going to make it very interesting and very fun. But if, everybody out there listening, if you have any other wide receiver that's seeing 8+ targets a game, please sit Stephon Diggs on the bench. But I know that's a tall ask to get a receiver getting 8+ targets a game. But seriously, if you do, Calvin Ridley, give me Ridley over Diggs. All right. He's just seeing more targets. It's a safer floor. And it's not like, it's Diggs' fault. Diggs is still seeing targets here. All right. That's why you got to get somebody who's going to get 8+ targets a game. But let's be realistic. Out of the last 6 games, 5 of those finishes are outside the top 45.
With that stat, Michael Platt just posted, or just said, you have Stephon Diggs as wide receiver 14 still as a
posted it all over you.
Wide receiver 1 ahead of guys like
that's not wide receiver 1. Wide receiver 14
borderline wide receiver 1. There, Daddy. He's over Cooper Kupp, Devonta Smith, Michael Pittman, DeAndre Hopkins, Calvin Ridley. I disagree with you, sir. Why still so high still?
Well, I mean, the last time he played New England, he actually played pretty well, and he was a wide receiver 1, so you got to go with that. You got to hope that he actually bounces back. Barring that, there's no other way you can justify it. You just got to hope for the best. He is the alpha in that offense, or should be, and it is what it is.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're in the championship game and you're, you it's luck. I get it, but if you got to rely on luck,
So you're
and hope,
telling me in a championship game, you're gonna start, say,
let me check if they have 8+ targets.
Would you start DK over Stephon Diggs this week, Ike? I know you have it ranked that way, but would you start DK over Diggs?
who's DK play again?
I broke your brain for a second.
I wouldn't. I'd start Diggs.
DK plays Pittsburgh.
He's only got 17 targets the past 3 games.
DK is literally a big play away from just destroying the league. Diggs is more possession. You got to hope for more targets. Honestly, again, it's still DK. All it takes is one big play for him to break
You'd play DK?
Receiver. Yeah, I would. But obviously, I'm playing both because I have the luxury of both of them. So,
and then you've had the luxury of playing Cooper Kupp and Stephon Diggs in your lineups, and they've been killing you. That's really good at luck.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been great.
And then just
you would think starting the year with Cooper Kupp, Stephon Diggs, DK, it'd be like, hey, fuck yeah. No.
No.
Touching on Dalton Kincaid now, guys. Like, are we to the point where we would rather start Kyle Pitts over Dalton Kincaid? For sure.
12 targets past 3 games.
I think the easy answer is yes.
No,
Kyle Pitts has one of the worst quarterbacks in the league throwing to him, no matter who it is. At least Dalton Kincaid has Josh Allen.
I feel like Kyle Pitts is definitely the Gabe Davis of tight ends.
No, he doesn't have that high of a ceiling.
Just break your heart more than anything.
I definitely feel like he's a Gabe Davis of tight ends.
Here we go ahead and move on. We got another question from JB. Would you start Juju or Parker? Asking for his girl who I'm playing against in the finals. So Juju. Wrong answer only. She ain't.
I'm going right answer, so you lose. And that's
I'm
Juju.
going wrong answer only.
I think it's Juju as well.
I would actually go Devontae.
You're just trying to get him to win. If he needs to lose, and it's Juju.
In the last 3 games, Devontae Parker has more targets, more catches, and more yards. What?
Well then,
I don't know what you want me to say. That's more points.
Devontae Parker also gets injured way more than Juju does.
True. True. I'm not gonna argue that.
Yeah, you kind of stopped me. I don't really have a rebuttal for you, but next game we got the Antonio. The Atlanta Falcons taking on the Chicago Bears. Ike.
Do you guys want to win this one or lose this one, honestly?
The Bears?
No, like you as Bears fans.
Oh, I always want them to win, man.
Okay.
They already. Well, I shouldn't say they got the first pick wrapped up because now there's no Trevor Lawrence going against Carolina, which gives me the willies a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, does that smell upset now with Carolina over the Jaguars later? Let's get into that a little bit later. But Like, let's talk Drake London. Is he a no-go this week after what we saw last week with Taylor Heineke against the tough Bears secondary?
Yes. 7 combined targets in the past 2 games. Like you said, opponent. You can bench him for better options. I'd rather start Demario Douglas over him.
Devontae Parker?
No.
Juju. Fuck that guy.
Now it really is off the rails. Like, what about Bijan? How do you feel about him as they did seem to work him more involved in the offense?
He's got to be a must start.
I said they would.
He's a must start. If anybody's going to get the targets in this game, it's going to be Bijan. Bears allow a shit ton of targets to wide receiver, a shit ton of targets.
No stat at all, just a shit ton, man.
I've known this for the past few weeks. They just give it up to the running back, man. It is what it is.
They give it up to him like a teenage girl on prom night.
All right.
It's promise.
Whoa.
Things happen.
We're just going to go ahead. Okay. Recollect here. Mike, looking at the Bears side of things, if you had to go one guy outside of DJ Moore in this offense, outside of Fields and Moore, obviously, it doesn't look like Komet's gonna go. He's been dealing with a knee injury now. Are you interested in anybody, any of the running backs?
Nope.
Darnell Mooney, Tyler Scott?
Nope. I know Khalil Herbert had a good week last week, and
He did.
Kudos to him. No. Falcons
Great
are
answer. Let's move on.
Falcons are third toughest matchup against wide receivers. It's second toughest for RBs. It's Fields and Moore and tempering expectations.
Yeah, for sure. And Deonta Foreman is back with the team. And he was out last week for personal reasons. So that just muddies the backfield even more. So you can't go in expecting the same workload from Khalil Herbert.
Jeff Bell was on the Thursday show, which actually was on Wednesday this week with Joe and AJ. And he talked about this game and he just absolutely thinks it's going to be a slog of a game. Nobody's going to want to watch it.
I'm locked into that game. You already know. Next game here we got that nobody's going to be locked into, at least me. Tennessee Titans taking on the Houston Texans. Ike, after a disappointing week last week, have we lost trust in DeAndre Hopkins? Where do you have him ranked?
You're out of the circle of trust, Fokker.
Yep.
I don't think I remember where I have him ranked, but I know it's inside top 36 because with Will Levis, he just seems to do a whole lot better than with Ryan Tannehill. I don't know what it is, but with Ryan Tannehill, they just like to just keep it easy, run the ball, do some weird shit. But with Will Levis, they're like, hey, fuck it, let's just throw the ball deep and go DeAndre Hopkins.
That's the mentality. That's the mentality of Levis.
Yeah, young kid likes to throw to their best receiver, which he should.
And he's got great arm strength, so I get it. And yeah, he just likes to sling it. You gotta love seeing that. Mike, you were a little bit higher in Derrick Henry last week, and he provided, didn't he? He threw another touchdown, correct?
I think he did.
He does those things.
Yeah, he does those things. So I think you start him. Tennessee's been more susceptible to the run as the season's gone on. They were much better against it at the beginning of the year. So I think you're rolling him out there no matter what. But nobody else. I shouldn't say nobody else. Chig is an intriguing streaming option this week, correct? Still, if you need somebody.
He's intriguing, but he's just a streaming option nonetheless.
Yep, for sure. Looking at the Texans side of things, Mike, looking like we're going to have CJ Stroud back in the lineup as he's cleared concussion protocol and
thank you, fantasy guys,
back to practice. Yes, and are you just plugging him right back in as your QB1 and thinking nothing else of it against a decent matchup against the Tennessee Titans?
Absolutely. He's an instant top 10 QB, especially with all the QB injuries right now. Possibly could be a top 5 QB, depending on how he feels off of that concussion. But it's an uptick for Nico Collins and, like a tight end streamer like Dalton Schultz.
Yep. Looking at the rankings, our rankers on the site has everybody, all 6 of you have him ranked as QB.
It makes Noah Brown intriguing too, just because Stroud, he spreads the ball out.
Yeah, I'm definitely
muted, Ike. $1 in the jar.
I'm definitely interested in Noah Brown a little bit here as a deep dart throw option. If you're down a few
12
points
teamers
and hoping you can.
Great matchup.
And we've seen him finish as a top 5 wide receiver, I want to say 3 times this season. So he has the opportunity to put up 20-plus fantasy points. Yeah. I think he's had 3 big weeks, at least 2 in the top 5 and 1 in the top 10, I want to say. But, yeah, if you're shooting for the stars, go ahead, plug Noah Brown into your fantasy lineups. Go ahead, jumping into the next game here. We got the Las Vegas Raiders taking on the Indianapolis Colts. Mike, go ahead. What do you say?
What are the odds the Raiders don't have to complete a pass in this second half of this game like they did last week?
I hope so. That was so wild that happened, man. The Chiefs are something else. I'm sure we'll get into it when we get into that game. But good for the Raiders. And good
I
for
wish we did
Antonio
normal
Pierce.
podcast about football. I would just go off on the Chiefs.
Maybe down the line, man, that would be an interesting. We'll talk about that some other time for sure.
No,
But it doesn't look like we talked about it a little bit earlier, and we already talked about how we like Zamir White if Josh Jacobs.
I don't like that, bro. I don't like that.
No-go. I like that, Brody. I like it a lot.
I don't like that at all. Good luck, Brody. I don't like it, but good luck.
I'm curious. Since the question kind of got killed a little bit, I'm gonna go ahead and pull up your full PPR rankings for running backs here, and I want you to tell me to stop on who you would not start Zamir White over. Would you start him over?
Hold on.
Ty
First,
Chandler?
this is before I knew Josh Jacobs was out. So
he's doubtful.
I'm not sure where I have Zamir White right now.
Okay. Well, would you play him over Chuba Hubbard against Jacksonville?
Chuba's a little banged up too. He's dealing with an injury.
Yeah,
Let's go quick here.
with what I've seen from Zamir White, yes.
Would you play him over Ezekiel Elliott?
No.
Would you play him over Ty Chandler?
Yes.
Would you play him over Austin Ekeler?
No.
Would you play him over Aaron Jones?
No.
Would you play him over Tony Pollard?
Yes. We already talked about this earlier. I don't even think about this. It was a yes.
I don't think I
So it
answered
looks like-
it, but I guess I would say yeah, just because Tony Pollard's been struggling.
So if I had to guess, man, you're going to have him in between RB 15 to RB 18 if I had to take a guess,
RB2.
which
He's
I think
definitely
is,
an RB2 for sure.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. And then we kind of talked about Diggs in the same light. Mike, you just touched on them not completing a pass in the second half. What about these wide receivers? What do we do with them? I played Jacoby Myers in DFS and on the showdown slate, and he was only owning like 11%. Gets like 7 fantasy points on the first drive of the game. Doesn't get a point after that. It's just, so what do we do with these wide receivers, guys? Both of them.
I guess it really depends on the game script. If they're down, they're going to have to pass more, which means more for Jacoby Myers and Devontae Adams. But if they're in the game, like they were against the Chiefs, they're going to want to run the clock down, use Zamir White. So it's
I look at it more.
It's really tough.
I look at it more of like a one-off. I mean, how do you beat Patrick Mahomes? You keep him off the field. How do you do that? You run the ball, you control the ball, and that's exactly what they did in the second half. I mean, the Chiefs couldn't do anything against the defense. So, I mean, you don't have to keep Gardner Minshew off the field to beat the Colts. So
Fair.
I think it was just a one-off. I think you could still get by with playing Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers. They get they've seen the targets, but that game is an anomaly. I just kind of throw it in there. It's like when Mac Jones only threw 3 passes and beat the Bills. It was an anomaly. It's a one-off.
Yeah, I hear you there. I definitely still don't love either of those guys this
That's why I
week.
joked about it, because it's not going to happen again.
Looking at the Colts side of things, Michael Pittman returned to practice, should be good to go this week. I mean, I know we said that last week as well once he was cleared, and then Saturday they announced he was out. Hopefully everything's all good to go. You're starting JT Gardner, nothing more than a streaming auction, 2 quarterback leagues type of guy. But what about Josh Downs here, Mike? Any interest in the slot receiver for the Colts here?
I mean, like you said, it already sounds like Pittman's pretty much a go this week. But if he's not, I guess you can get away with playing Josh Downs. He saw 9 targets last week. He just didn't do much of them. 6 for 39 yards. I mean, PPR leagues, though, that's 9 points. That's valuable. That's wide receiver 3, flex territory. But if Pittman's in, I'm out on Downs. He's going to be just a high upside, low volume play.
Totally fair. Jumping into our next game, we got the Carolina Panthers taking on the Trevor Lawrence-less Jacksonville Jaguars. Like, Bryce Young had his best game of his career, and I'm sure Michael Plant loved that it came at the hands of the Green Bay Packers. I'm interested to hear your thoughts. Did he impress you enough for you to want to start Adam Thielen and DJ Chark, who I feel also had the best day of his season last week?
Thielen, sure. To me, this is just personal preference. I will never trust DJ Chark enough to start in my championship game. I'd rather start multiple other wide receivers over him. So unless you're down bad, I don't think you
Drake London?
DJ Chark. I would play Drake London over him for sure.
Really? Mr. 7 targets.
He's a better talent.
Would you start DJ Chark over two of the guys that Jamie talked about earlier? I'm curious about that. Devontae Parker or Juju? It's a good matchup against Jacksonville, guys. These guys get beat up.
Those are both from the same team, so it's really hard to predict which one will do better. So, yeah, I would go DJ Chark over both of those.
Okay, so if DJ Chark was on the waiver wire, you would tell her to pick up DJ Chark and start him over either
Juju
of those
and
receivers
and Devontae, yes, but over like Jacoby Myers, no. Devontae Adams, no.
Sure.
T. Higgins, no. Players like that.
Yeah, I get
Drake
that.
London.
Yes.
That Mike talked
he
about.
has proven himself more than, to me, DJ Chark. I just can't trust DJ Chark. He is a deep threat. That's all he is.
Yeah, for sure. Mike touched on Chuba earlier. Sadie's banged up. Still probably a top 24 guy. And if you've been leaning on him this long, you're probably leaning on him here as well against the Jaguars. Mike, looking at the Jaguars, I talked about CJ Beathard at quarterback, who we've seen at times be serviceable, I guess. Is anyone outside of ETN who's actually broken down? It hasn't been that great as of late, but you're still playing him. Is anyone outside of him a start in this offense? And why is the answer Calvin Ridley?
The answer is definitely Calvin Ridley. Unfortunately, it's Calvin Ridley, but yes, it's definitely Calvin Ridley. 34 targets past 3 games. It's asinine. That's an asinine amount of targets. There's only 2 wide receivers with more targets over the past 3 games. Any guesses? Nope. Okay. It's Amari Cooper and AJ Brown. All right. So
nice.
You're starting a guy who's seeing 10 plus targets a game. That's why I meant give me Ridley over Diggs this week, just because he's seeing double-digit plus targets the past 3 games, and he's gonna probably see it with Beathard even. So yeah, it's unfortunately it's Calvin Ridley. I wouldn't be surprised. He kind of gives me this vibe that he's the guy that's been absolutely just fucking brutal all year long. Nobody knows when to play him. Nobody knows when to bench him. But then it comes to championship week, and all of a sudden, boom, I think he might actually do somewhat good. He's kind of given us that narrative a little bit.
It's been a roller coaster for Calvin Ridley because there was a ton of people after the first 3 weeks doing a ton of victory laps because he was fantastic. But you're right. Once the middle of the season hit, he hit a lull for sure. And then he's been getting the targets once again these past few weeks. Zay Jones also returns. Is he around that same group of wide receivers that we keep bringing up, the London, the Juju, the Devontae Parker, the DJ Chark, or is he a tier? Is he a tier better than them, or is he in that tier, you think?
I mean, if you ask talent-wise, no. But target-wise, he has been seeing a decent amount of targets. So, that kind of puts him in that area just from the volume alone.
Yeah, the game he got hurt, I want to say he saw 12 targets alongside Calvin Ridley, who saw 13 as well.
Yeah. So this offense is just throwing a lot more lately, which is actually that's what's hurting ETN for the most part.
Yeah, definitely doesn't help. But we got a question here from Jason. Need help in the finals. Pick 2 to start. Chuba, T. Higgins, Zamir White.
If I think Chase is not going to play this week. And if Chase does not play Jason, it's T. Higgins and Zamir White.
I know we'll touch on it a little bit later, but I don't know if we really do we like the matchup for T. Higgins this week against Kansas City with Chase out still, though? Their secondary is pretty good, man.
I still think it's a good, it's an all right matchup. Jake Browning has showed sufficient enough to be, to give us fantasy value. Maybe they don't win the game, but that's why I still trust T. Higgins. But it's only if Jamar Chase is out, because when
still better than an injured Chuba.
Yeah, I think I agree with you guys. I think it's Zamir White and T. Higgins. That's where I lean.
But Chase has to be out because if Chase is in, I'm putting Chuba in.
If Chase is in, I think T. Higgins just comes very touchdown dependent and big play dependent, which maybe he does.
You also got to remember Dick Browning come back to earth. Maybe he's back to what he actually was.
Perhaps, man. Perhaps no longer riding the high. We saw the backup quarterback roller coaster take a big dip this past week with Jake Browning, Nick Mullins, Tommy DeVito, my guy, getting benched in New York.
Tommy DeVito.
Definitely not ideal. And what a professional segue, guys. And we're talking about that team, the Los Angeles Rams taking on the New York Giants. We're actually talking about the Rams here first. Ike, you're starting Kyron Williams. He's awesome. You're probably starting Matthew Stafford as close to a top 12 guy this week because he's on an absolute heater. Cooper Kupp, you're rolling him out there, even though you guys don't like him for some reason. Puka Nacua, the island boy, you're starting him. I want to hear your thoughts about DeMarcus Robinson now. Like, he's getting an okay amount of targets. They're not great. He's went 4 straight weeks with a touchdown, finishing as a top, I don't want to butcher it, so I'm just going to say top 36 wide receiver in 4 straight weeks. Might be top 24 wide receiver.
It might be. I'm pretty sure it is, but I have to look again.
What do you think about him this week against the Giants, and is he someone you could trust in your fantasy championships?
It just seems like one of those games where he's going to disappoint you. You see 4 straight touchdowns, 4 straight top 24 finishes, top 36 finishes, whatever, and then it's like, all right, cool, I'm going to start him, and then he gives you like a 3, which is what I expect. So he's obviously the 3rd, 4th best option in that offense. It's just something I can't trust going into a championship game. Sorry that he's done good the past 3 weeks, but not for me.
I hear that too. I do feel like this is the game where you play DeMarcus Robinson finally, and he just doesn't produce for you. It could happen. He could 5 straight with a touchdown, and he saves your day. But it feels like a letdown spot for me as well. LaPlante, do you agree here?
Yeah, it's boom or bust.
Yeah, for sure. Looking at the Giants side of thing, Mike, and every week it's just pretty much Saquon in this offense. We thought Darren Waller could be a thing last week. At least I did. He was almost a thing. Tyrod underthrows him on a broken play. I don't know if you guys saw it. Tyrod was running to his left, tried to throw right, and just underthrew Waller. And if he gets it to him, it's probably a touchdown, which would help me in fantasy football. That's for sure. But does anything change in this offense with Tyrod at the helm, or are you still just pretty much Saquon and maybe Darren Waller if you're desperate?
Yeah, not really. Maybe a little bit more efficiency just because we got a professional quarterback, taking the reins.
Whoa!
DeVito's not a professional quarterback. His agent's more professional than him. But it's impossible to
don't talk about Italians like that.
I just did. What are you gonna do about it? What are you gonna do about it?
He's gonna make a call.
You'll be sleeping with the fishes.
Yeah, he's gonna get your ass whacked.
I hear they sleep well, so okay, bring it on. I guess if you want, you could play Waller just because we all know tight ends, just kind of suck, and it's a streaming option. It's a guy we know who can do something with it when he gets the targets. But let's be realistic. He saw just as many targets as Daniel Bellinger last week, 5. All right, yeah, I know the outcome changes and the narrative changes if he catches that broken play and Tyrod doesn't underthrow him or whatnot. But the narrative is what it is because of it, and Bellinger saw just as many targets, so it's hard to trust even Waller at this point. I mean, yeah, Slayton had the big play, but boom or bust. So, I mean, it's about as good as DeMarcus Robinson in the other side of this matchup. So it's Barkley or bust, pretty much.
Yeah, I feel you there. Next game, go ahead and jumping into the Arizona Cardinals taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. Ike, anyone intrigue you besides Kyler and Connor this week? Because I'm going to assume Kyler, I could just pull it up in your rankings, and I will be surprised if Kyler's not ranked in the top 12 against the Eagles here. And I gave you shit a couple weeks ago. Okay, it's fine. Quarterback 13, Ike. You don't have to hear me bitch at you a whole lot here. But anyone intrigue you outside of Kyler and James Conner this week in this offense? Marquise Hollywood Brown was put on IR. Trey McBride last week, disappointed, only 9 fantasy points. Are you back in on him this week or anybody else?
Muted, buddy. Another dollar in the jar.
Wow, struggling, man.
I was going to say, I'm surprised you didn't mention Trey McBride because he is literally the one dude that should be started in this offense. He's had 6 straight games with 7+ targets. Other than that game last week that you mentioned, 5 of those he's been a tight end 1. So he's basically just been dominating ever since he took over for Zach Ertz. So you should be starting him unless you got Travis Kelce, I guess. Even then, he's been outperforming him most of the time.
Yeah, sure. I hear that as well. No love for the Greg the Deutschman Dortch here.
Not even remotely.
I just wanted to get his name in here. Looking at the Eagles side of things, Mike, has Swift moved back into must-start territory now with his last few weeks seeing the volume? And hell, even last week, he found the end zone.
I know. It's I always see the meme out there with from Talladega Nights, Ricky Bobby and Cal Norton talking to each other. Like, maybe one of these times I can win. But if you win, how am I supposed to win?
How am I supposed to win?
And that's Jalen Hurts talking to his running back. So he let Cal Norton finally win one last week.
Yep.
But he's not must-start territory. No, he's only averaging 9.6 fantasy points the past 3 games. It's not must-start territory, but it is RB2. That flex territory. He's getting about 17 touches a game. So that's why he's a solid RB2. And, depending on your other guys you got, he could be a flex play.
You guys want to fight at all or no?
I mean, he's got a good matchup. Good matchup. He could explode this week. I'll give you that.
I just want to say that for 80% of that talk, he stuck with the Texas accent and then lost it at the very end.
Very southern prospector is what I was getting. But what I wanted to say is Ike actually has DeAndre Swift, and he's not the only one who has him ranked inside the top 10 this week. Ike has him
it's the matchup.
Ranked as the 9th RB. Joe has him as RB10 as well. So our guys seem to be very in on DeAndre Swift.
Number 1 matchup against running backs.
And running backs are kind of brutal right now. So.
Yep. And then, Jalen Hurts is good. A.J. Brown obviously still doing his thing. Dallas Goedert, borderline tight end 1 every week. If you roster him, you're probably going with him. Devontae Smith, once again, I think we know what he is at this point. We know what he is. Yep. Next game we got here, guys. Big important game for this NFC South Division. New Orleans Saints taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Mike, do you know the playoff implications on this game like you do about the AFC East earlier, or are you a one pump chump here?
all I know is I'm pretty sure if the Bucs win this one, they lock up the division, I want to say.
Yeah, Bucs are a game ahead of the Saints and the Falcons. I'm not sure how the tiebreakers work in that scenario, but this is a big important game for both of these teams as well. Ike, looking at the Saints side of things, Derek Carr, even in a good matchup, I still don't think he's streamer worthy. The man threw for like 117 yards 2 weeks ago. I'm good. Alvin Kamara has disappointed last week. You're still rolling with Alvin Kamara in a decent.
He did show up on the injury report though, so just
monitor that as well. Yep, sure. You're playing Chris Olave, but I'm really interested in your thoughts on Rashid Shaheed. Had a good week last week. Started to see more volume that he has seen in most weeks because he had been banged up and he's not a high volume guy. Michael Thomas, obviously on IR, that's old news. But with Shaheed kind of being the third pass catcher behind Chris Olave and Alvin Kamara, does he have flex appeal for you this week?
It's intriguing. I get it because it's such a good matchup, but he's just so boomer bust that do you really trust him in a championship game?
Shaheed. This week against Tampa Bay.
Him or
Yeah,
Gabe
Rashid
Davis.
Shaheed.
Yeah, I give you that.
Alright.
But still, even then, I'd like to hope you have better options than that at this point in the year. But still, he's intriguing. Like you said, he saw 9 targets. I have him as wide receiver 40, so just outside of a top 3 wide receiver. So it like you said, over Gabe Davis, sure, but over certain other players, like again,
Drake
like
London.
no, I
Chris
wouldn't.
Come
Godwin.
on.
No,
Chris Godwin,
Chris
who we're going to
Godwin's
talk
been
about
looking
next.
good lately. Chris Godwin's been fine lately,
You
so
played
that's
Drake London? Really? You
Michael
said
Prank.
7 targets in the past.
At least Drake London has a proven track record of seeing more than 9+ targets in more than one game. Rashid Shaheed has done it in one game. Other than that, he's seen like 4 targets in the other game, and it's all just because of deep threat. You can't
Rashid
trust that.
Shaheed has more catches in the past 2 games than Drake London has targets.
Cool. That's sweet. But Drake London's more trustworthy than me because he'll actually get more targets to me than.
But let's be real. I love
He's-
Bijan just as much as the next guy, but nobody on that fucking offense is trustworthy.
You don't think Bijan is? I think he's fine.
I mean, we saw it in the semis with the fumble. Arthur Smith said, "Nah, get your ass out," and then Taylor Algier came in. So no, nobody is really trustworthy on that offense with Arthur Smith running it.
Guys, this is the most important question we've got on the show tonight. Does
No,
the
it
plant win the
isn't.
Nutsack Trophy in our
If I
Yes, he
do
does.
it-
football
If I do
only?
it, it goes right there. If I do it,
Let's
goes
go.
right
Let's go, Brody. And there's Brody right there chiming into log into
actually
his fantasy
display it.
drop, everyone.
I'll actually display it, unlike Ike over there, who would never do it.
Where do you want me to display it? Hover it against this wall somehow?
I want
Just
you
do
to
some magic? Hold
I
it
want
like
you to
this?
build
An
a
invisible
shelf.
Yep.
Build a shelf, and then.
I
put
mean,
it
I
on.
guess because I can do that, but still.
All right, guys, let's rate it back in a little bit here. We got a question from JB with us talking about Shaheed. Would you play him over the likes of Jaden Reed or George Pickens here? Jaden Reed.
Over him 10 times out of 10.
I would do it over Pickens, but
Why?
not over Reed. Because you expect Pickens to have another 4 reception, almost 200 yards.
No, we're going to get into this later. I don't expect him to do the same
He got
shit.
4 targets
But I
last
expect
game.
him to be the alpha in the offense.
He got 4 targets last game. That's not an alpha in any offense.
Shaheed has seen more than 4 targets other than last week. How many times? Like twice?
Yeah. I hear both sides of this argument. That's why it's a good question, Jamie, and I like you bringing it up.
Fuck, if anything,
getting these 2 fired up, too.
Shaheed.
I like it. I like it when they're
Reed,
angry.
though, a little bit more because he gets rushing attempts as well. Plus, you have Christian Watson, who again is maybe not playing.
Yeah, I think Jaden Reed is the safest play out of the 3 here, and he doesn't have a terrible ceiling either. So I think
Pickens
that's
is the highest
actually,
ceiling. If you
that's
want to
actually,
do it, Goldilocks and the 3 Bears here.
I mean, obviously, we just saw the
safest
guy
is Reed.
pop off for 200 yards. Yeah, but I think the right answer here is Jaden Reed. If I'm being,
I think so too.
Like you lean Pickens, you said.
Pickens, Reed, Shaheed.
Okay. That is fair enough. Jumping back into our game previews, Mike, we were touched on Chris Godwin a little bit earlier. I'm curious your thoughts here because this is really the only question we need to know here in this offense. We're starting Rachaad White. He's been awesome. We are starting Mike Evans. He's been awesome. Baker Mayfield, he's on a heater as well.
QB2, past 3 games.
Where is Baker ranked? Ike has him as a top 10 quarterback. Joe Bond has him as quarterback 9. So everyone at Fantasy Six Pack, guys, pretty much telling you to start Baker in this lineup. With all of that said, is Chris Godwin also a start this week, Mike?
Yes, I'd be starting him over Stephon Diggs. He's seen 11 targets the past 3 games. You gotta start him just based on the volume. He's a wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, not a wide receiver 45 or worse like Stephon Diggs. All right, but the one bugaboo is he just can't score a damn touchdown. All right, he's got 1 touchdown that he scored in week 13, and that's it. It's not even Cade Otton has 4 touchdowns on the Buccaneers. Trey Palmer has 2 touchdowns on the Buccaneers. I was telling you guys, pre-show, all right, A.T. Perry, more touchdowns. Alameda Zacchaeus, Scotty Miller, Lil Jordan Humphrey, Jake Bobo, Trey Tucker, Jamison Williams, Quentin Johnston. So it's rough in the touchdown department when you got Mike Evans stealing them all. So maybe there's a little regression to the mean this week with those targets. Maybe he gets in the end zone as well. So, yes, you definitely play Chris Godwin this
They're
week.
just working Trey Palmer in so he could eventually take Chris Godwin's job.
I get it. He's on a contract year, I think.
Yeah, I know it's pretty close. He's pushing the age 30, I think I want to say. So he's got to be
not remotely.
He's not 30?
29. I think he's 29.
No,
I'll look it up.
I think he's younger than that.
I think you're wrong.
I don't think so, Tim.
I think Mike Evans is 30. I think
Mike
Chris
Evans is
Godwin's
older
like
for sure.
27.
While Mike's looking that up, we can go ahead and jump into the
27
next
for
game.
Chris Godwin. He was
Weird.
Wow, that is surprising.
Weird.
And then Mike Evans is
31?
30.
Nailed it.
All right, he's right. For one time in his miserable life, he's right.
Whoa, miserable life. Personal here on the show tonight. I love it. San Francisco 49ers taking on the Washington Commanders. And Ike, if there was ever a bounce back game in line for Brock Purdy, this is it, right? As long as he is good to go with the stinger.
Yes. That's all I got to say. I don't like
That's
your
fair
question.
enough.
If you're worried about him against this team, you don't know what you're doing. This is a
And
team
that's
that
all.
literally anybody can throw against. Go
That's
for it.
all I got to say about that.
Start Debo, start George, start Christian McCaffrey, start Ayuk, start Purdy.
Fire them all up, everybody. That's really all there is to it.
Start Trent Sherfield.
No.
All right, don't start everybody then, guys.
What about Kyle Juszczyk?
God, I wish.
Who's
I wish if we had a
In
fullback
those
league.
tight end premium, man. I'm sure you could play him
If
as
you
tight
had
end.
a fullback league, if there even existed one, he'd be the top pick no matter what.
He's actually probably a running back. That would probably make more sense than tight end, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I wonder what the
Yeah.
odds on a Kyle Juszczyk touchdown is in the betting books this week.
That'd be a good question to ask Alan on the Sunday social on Sunday. Mike, looking
Write
at the
it down.
Washington.
Write it down.
Write that down. Looking at the Washington Commanders side of things, LaPlante. This doesn't make sense to me. Okay. You want to lose. Putting in Jacoby Brissett does not give you the better chance to lose, in my opinion.
I
So
agree
what
with
are we
you.
doing here?
I agree with you, but let me give you the human
Sam
side of
Howell.
things. Sam Howell has been beaten to a fucking pulp this year. All right. So I don't know where Ike went, but pretty much that's what
He's
happened to Sam Howell after the sacks. He was just pounded in the dust. I mean, like, Howell's beat up. He's been hurt. So I assume it also has something to do with that. You know, he was leading the league in sacks taken. So I'm looking at the human side of things here, and maybe Sam Howell is just like, you know what, I'm good. You know, if Brissett wants to take the job this week, go ahead. He can
Against
get
the
sacked.
49ers, I get
Exactly.
it.
All right. But here's the thing. Adam Schefter reported today that Brissett popped up on the injury report with a hamstring. So you know what that means. Howell's going to be the starter if Brissett can't go. So Joe Bond tweeted out, it's a little awkward if you think Howell gets benched. They're going to go back to him. Hey, I know we just benched you, but you want to start for us?
Nothing like playing with the emotions of the young guy. Same thing with Zach Wilson when when that report came out that he told the Jets to fuck off when they came back. When they came back to him asking him to go back in the game. And then look what happens to him. He gets a concussion. This is probably why he didn't want to go back in. Zach Wilson,
especially not against the Niners. I mean, I don't blame him.
Exactly, man.
Howell's got a career as a backup he's got to look forward to.
Exactly. He's going to go around being the Gardner Minshew, stuff. He's going to be, he's an absolute.
He's got a better arm than Minshew. Man. He's got a better arm.
Yeah, for sure.
He's got Fitzpatrick written all over him.
But, Mike, if it's Jacoby Brissett, does that mean Terry McLaurin, who's been, once again, like a roller coaster, like his entire career has been, if he gets Jacoby Brissett, we saw Terry blow up in the second half when he had Brissett in the game a few weeks ago. is he plug it in wide receiver 3, set it and forget it this week? Rather play him or Chris Godwin?
I'd rather play Godwin. I would say he's more flex territory, maybe a high upside flex, low ups, downside wide receiver 3, I guess. Just because, again, the matchup, I don't think, there's going to be like a lot of targets to be had here. Maybe if there is, it's going to be all garbage time, but garbage time is just not reliable unless your name's Jameis Winston.
Yeah, Ike seems to be down on Terry McLaurin as well, ranking him wide receiver 29, so doesn't expect much from him. Is same with Joe Bond, having him as wide receiver 30. So pretty much what you said, Mike, is a borderline back at wide receiver 3. Jumping into the afternoon games, guys, and it's honestly not a pretty slate here. For afternoon games, I'm assuming the NFL was hoping Joe Burrow was going to be healthy, so we'd get a Burrow-Mahomes afternoon game surrounded by these two brutal games of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Started here with the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Seattle Seahawks. It absolutely this game matters too for the Steelers and Seahawks for playoff implications as well. The Steelers are hanging in there by a thread in the AFC, along with the Seahawks, who are in the last wild card spot as well. Ike, for the Steelers, I'm curious, which running back do you have ranked higher this week, Najee Harris or Jaylen Warren?
For me, it's still Najee. For the past, I think, 3 to 5 weeks, I've been going Najee literally right before Jaylen Warren in most of my rankings. If not, they're literally right by each other every time, because you don't know.
They are back to back in that.
You don't know what's gonna happen between them. Both can score a touchdown. Both can catch passes. Both are, for the most part, somewhat inefficient on the ground game. So it's just a toss-up. If for whatever reason you have both of them on your team, which is by this point weird, you probably should trade them at this point, I would go Najee over him. Over Warren.
Yeah. Volume. Volume.
Yeah. I get both sides of it. We talked on George Pickens a little bit earlier, and right when we were out on him the last few weeks, he sucks you right back in, Ike, and it seems like he got you a little bit back in after what you said earlier today.
I think he should be in starting lineups. Don't expect what you saw last week where he's going to drop 30 to 40 fantasy points on you, but it looks like with the way this new offensive coordinator is going, they want to get Pickens the ball. So I think he can be in starting lineups depending on who else you have. I'd like to know your other options more.
Yeah, we touched on those options earlier, so I get it. We no need to rehash anything else here. Jumping over to the Seattle side of things. JSN, Mike. 3 out of 4 top 36 finishes. We go on 4 out of 5 this week in the fantasy championship games, and he's been pretty trustworthy as of late. 13 fantasy points at PPR. 6.5 was the down one, 14.8, and then 12.1, and you'll take that all day, every day from your flex wide receiver 3 position.
If he's going to be top 36, it's because he scores a touchdown. All right.
No.
But
he only scored 1 touchdown, asshole.
I know. Well, that's why I in this matchup I'm getting at, because of the matchup. It's middle of the pack for the Steelers. He's seeing about 6 targets a game, so it's enough to be flex territory, but not locking and loaded, top 36. That's why I say in this matchup he's going to need a touchdown. Not enough volume to get him to that 36, just on volume alone. So it's a tougher matchup. But I do expect, DK to take most of the, main coverage away. So maybe that does open up for, a deep pass where JSN has shown that he can catch the deep touchdown. But
100%. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, it's like, I wanted to ask Ike, JSN or Drake London?
Yeah, it's JSN.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, targets. So get Drake London out of your damn lineups.
Unless it's
looking at the running. Looking at the running backs now, Mike. You still got total comfort in starting Kenneth Walker in this matchup. Ike has him ranked as a top 12 guy this week as RB12.
He's going to get the volume. It's not Sharp's backfield. He's explosive. He gets enough of the volume to where he can take one to the house, 30, 40 yards.
At any
so,
point.
Yeah. So he's a lock it and load it top 20, but it depends on his explosive play for the week if he's going to be top 10.
Yeah, definitely fair. Looking at our next game, we got the Los Angeles Chargers taking on the Denver Broncos. Like, this question's kind of scrapped too. Josh Palmer not playing, right? Keenan Allen, once again, not playing. Austin Ekeler, this is what we got here. Is he back into top 24 range? I don't know if he necessarily ever left, but we were down on him the last few weeks heading into last week, and we felt last week he had a good week, and he scored like 11 fantasy points. He did
finish inside the top 24, though, which with 11 fantasy points, that's kind of brutal. I'm pretty sure top 24, if not close, which is his best finish in the past 3-4 weeks, which is kind of alarming. Yeah. But without Keenan, without Joshua and Palmer, they're going to have to rely on a tight end and a rookie wide receiver. So I feel like Ekeler is going to get more than what we expect. He's a top 24 this week for sure for me.
This should be the game for Ekeler, right?
Yes.
If you got to the championship, plug Ekeler in. Austin, I know you love fantasy football. Give us a good game in the fantasy championship, man. I can feel it. Ike, like you said, no Keenan Allen, no Joshua Palmer. Who else are you throwing the ball to? Bust-ass Quentin Johnston? Like, what? Gerald Everett? What are we doing here, guys? Come on.
It could be one of those games where Ekeler sees 10 targets, man.
I hope so. Give it to me.
The matchup's in his favor.
Injected
man.
into my
veins.
It's so hard to trust him. I mean, I think he's a 24 running back, but I really do think he's in the 20 to 24 range.
He's definitely not an RB1. I'll give you that. He's not an RB1.
Mike, what? Can you check this for Albert? What was Ekeler's stat line against the Broncos the first time? I'm going to pull up this other question we got.
Again, that was with Keenan Allen, though. So can you or probably with Keenan Allen. So can you take that with a grain of salt?
Got a good question here. Gino, Tua, or Jared Goff?
I'm not going Tua, so you can't eliminate that.
I think it's Goff. We said earlier that we would go Goff over Tua this week with the tough matchup.
I go Goff just because I don't
against
like Gino's
Baltimore
injury lately either.
No, there's no reason to trust Gino this week. He hasn't been good when he's been on the field, so
that's Goff.
I'm totally fine with Goff on the road in a dome.
And he did say skip the Bolts first ponies. Last time Ekeler faced Denver, he was RB8 in PPR.
Right on.
He saw 7 targets.
That was with Keenan Allen and most of the crew around. So,
yep. Inject that into my veins. Let's go. Give me a top 10 Austin Ekeler week to finish out the fantasy season. I would absolutely love it. Even though I don't own him in many places anymore, except for a dynasty league, I think, and I probably sold him.
Yeah.
But looking at the Denver side of things, Mike, and I just left this open-ended question because you love open-ended questions. You told me that before. Jarrett Stidham. Now what?
Same thing, same offense. Low passing volume, same as it was with Russell Wilson. It's going to be run first, which means fire up Javonte Williams. But it's going to be hard
for that.
Yep, it's going to be hard to trust Sutton, though. I know you guys have been riding high on Sutton's touchdowns because Russ Wilson seems to find
only with Russell there. Now I can't. Now it's
exactly. You can't trust it. You can't trust he's going to get that touchdown still. So I'm not even trusting Sutton. Desperation flex play at best.
Or head injury. I don't know if it was concussion for sure.
I hear all of that for sure. And if you have better options, you're probably not starting Courtland Sutton. But I feel like, and I don't have the stats pulled up in front of me. If I was good at this, I probably would have. Oh no, I'm really not good because I lost my train of thought.
How do you lose your train of thought right there?
Jarrett Stidham, when he got his chance in Vegas, I feel like he absolutely peppered Devontae Adams with targets last year, right? Is it possible that we see that again with Cortland Sutton. Obviously, I know Cortland Sutton isn't Devontae Adams, but Mike, what are your thoughts there?
No.
I'm actually you asked Ike first because I'm actually looking up what Albert said because Albert said Cortland Sutton's been ruled out already.
Probably because of his concussion. But anyways, even if so,
Cortland Sutton is
no,
out.
because
Cortland
Devontae
Jerry Jeudy
Adams'
season.
route running is so much better than Cortland Sutton. Cortland Sutton has a much more limited route tree than Devontae Adams. And now that he's out, I still don't want Jerry Jeudy. Anyways, he's been brutal all year. You can miss me with that.
Yeah, Brody said the same thing, and he's out. Yeah, that one's on me. Missed that one. And that, yeah, we just bring
Very
back Manning
professional.
But only the best here. Only the best. Jumping into the next game here, guys. We got the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. Man, I wish this was Burrow and Mahomes. Ike, interested in Chase Brown this week at all?
No. I get the intrigue. I mean, sure, he's looked fine. He actually looks a little bit more explosive than Joe Mixon, but he's not getting enough work, and his snaps are still around 20 to 30%. Not enough for me in championship game. He's still, other than that 1 week he scored that one screen touchdown pass, hasn't really done much. He's getting a few touches here and there. Still not enough to fully trust.
Yeah, that's totally fair. We talked about this a little bit earlier too. Are you still starting T. Higgins? Do you still trust him to an extent if Ja'Marr Chase is playing, or does he go back to the bench if Chase is back at the starting lineup?
I think Browning has come back to earth. His Linsanity run is over. The Chiefs defense is very good this year.
No, that was DeVito. His Linsanity run is over.
All of them. The backup quarterback's Linsanity run is over. It's not in the cards. If Chase is out, they're gonna want to focus on Higgins with L'Jarius Sneed and McDuffie and all them boys. I don't think that's gonna happen. I think he's gonna have a rough game. You can probably find a better option.
At least before DeVito got benched, he cashed in on those sponsorships. I don't know if you guys saw him doing that.
Hell yeah.
With that pasta sauce with his mom and stuff.
Smart.
So hopefully they paid him a good amount of money. He knew his time was coming to an end, so he had to take advantage of it. I love it.
Aliens know it best, dude.
I love it. Mike, or Mick, like I called you on the show sheet. Pacheco questionable heading into this one, right? I didn't miss that one. I know he's dealing with getting kicked in the back of the head. McKinnon on IR now. Do you think this is a CEH week? Does he make up for all the suckiness his entire career in fantasy purposes? Does he make it up this week by giving people fantasy championships, Mike, or no?
So Pete Sweeney on Twitter tweeted out today that Isaiah Pacheco practiced today, and the Chiefs will see how he does following the workout to clear concussion protocol. And then running back Clyde Edwards-Helaire is fighting through an illness, but Kansas City could have both running backs available. Yes. So now here's the thing. If it's Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Pacheco, I still project Pacheco to be the lead back, but CEH has carved out enough of a role here to be the pass catching back and take that McKinnon role. But I'd rather play Pacheco. I lean him just because he is the guy, but he is still questionable. CEH is averaging 12.2 fantasy points the last 3 games. That's startable. I don't think he's going to have an explosion week here. But yeah, a solid 15 points from CEH is definitely in the cards, making him, viable RB2 flex play. He's running back 22 the past 3 weeks. That's pretty much right there.
Yeah, it's definitely fair enough, guys.
And we do have a question. From E Pluribus Ethereum. Flex Chase over Pollard, Hopkins, Achane, or Flowers. He said Snead is questionable right now, which he is. He's working through a calf injury. That was also on the Sweeney tweet.
Hoppy. I'm going Hoppy.
Hoppy?
Flex Chase over Pollard. Hopkins. No, would you play? I think he's asking if you would play Chase over any of these guys.
Oh.
Yes.
So if Chase is in, I'm playing him no matter what.
Yes, correct. If Chase is in
e
pluribus, you're playing him.
The odd man out is probably Devon Achane, I think.
And or
guaranteed, because he's guaranteed the least amount of workload, I think, there. Even though Tony Pollard I've okayed benching Tony Pollard with him being a butthole all season, too, to be honest with you.
Agreed.
Just AJ is so boomer.
Yeah, see, he knows what's up. That's his nickname, Hoppy.
Jamie asked, do you think Prince can be a deep flex play if Pacheco sits? 12 plus teams, yeah, I guess.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Maybe he sees 8 to 10 touches. 10. Maybe he finds the end zone. Man.
Not 10 teamers, though.
I've seen
no chance. No chance in 10.
For sure. Looking at the Sunday Night Football matchup, we have the Green Bay Packers taking on the Minnesota Vikings. Guys, and this is the last game we're talking about for the season. You guys doing all right over there?
I'm about to cry, I think.
Right on, Ike. Is Jordan Love a top 12 guy this week?
You want to bet?
I'll ask you again. Is Jordan Love a top 12 guy this week, Ike, after struggling the first time around against Minnesota at home, where he finished as QB 18?
I think he's a borderline quarterback 12 this week. There's a few quarterbacks I like a little bit more. Obviously, they have better matchups. Plus, Jordan Love, other than last week, he has been a quarterback one for the 4 of the past 5 weeks, I believe. So that's something to keep in mind. But still, I like a few other ones more than him.
Yeah. Yep, that's fair. We talked about Aaron Jones earlier in the show. Mike and I really like him. Ike is a little bit further down on him, but I'm pretty sure he still has it ranked as a top 24 guy, as he should. We talked Jaden Reed a little bit. He's a borderline he is a wide receiver 3 if Christian Watson is out, in my opinion. Now, what about Romeo Doubs? Does he intrigue you guys at all? He's produced decently over the past few weeks.
I mean, he intrigues me because I have no choice but to start him in that matchup against Brody this week because Marquise Brown going on IR. So, yeah, let's go Romeo Doubs.
I don't think you want to start Marquise Brown anyways.
I know because of the IR. That's why I said I have
not even if he was on IR. He could be fully healthy, 100% to go, and you're still not starting him.
I don't know. Against the Eagles secondary, number 1 matchup against wide receivers.
That I don't know. He could be that high, but still,
he is QB6. Yeah, I just saw he is QB6. I just saw it. Yeah, it's been good. Yeah, agreed. But yeah, he is QB6.
Again, like I would play him over Tua. I didn't say it earlier, but I definitely would this week.
Yeah, right on. That is fair. Mike, looking at the Minnesota side of things, Jordan Addison going down with an injury last week. TJ Hawkinson, we lost him to an ACL, MCL injury, and hopefully he's back for next year's fantasy draft.
ACL doesn't bode well at the end of the year. He's probably going to come into the next season like Kyler Murray did this year. Hawkinson's going to be probably like week 8, week 9 when he probably is 100% or coming in.
We also have a quarterback change for the umpteenth time this season with the Vikings. They're going back to Jaron Hall after
due to injury, though. Not due to injury. So we got
Nick Mullins just can't stop turning the ball over. We like Nick Mullins for fantasy purposes because he's a chucker.
They threw that duck at the end of the game.
We have no idea what to expect from Jaron Hall because we only got to see we only got to see like a half a drive from Jared Hall the first time before getting hurt. So we don't know what to expect here. But with the other injuries, Mike, are you interested in KJ Osborne this week, or with the quarterback change, does it kill it?
No,
I said no. The quarterback change does kill it. With Jaron Hall named as the starter, we didn't see very much of it, but he likes to run in the little bit we saw. So it's going to take away from your passing volume that we all love so much from Nick Mullins, and I really don't trust anyone outside of Justin Jefferson and Ty Chandler this week.
Even then, Justin Jefferson's risky now too, man, because they're probably going to keep it easy. run it.
But
as
he's
much
going to
as
be
I can.
he's going to be the first read.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
why
yeah,
I
yeah,
still trust
yeah.
it a little bit. But you're tempering expectations. Jair Alexander is out, so he got suspended for this game for going up to as a captain in his
He just didn't
hometown.
want to go against Justin Jefferson. He didn't want the smoke.
I don't know. It's always a good battle when Jair goes up against Justin.
It is.
Sometimes Justin wins. Sometimes Jair wins.
Just interesting stuff that they would suspend him for doing that. So I wonder if
It was
there's
his
more to
hometown
it there.
too. Like I understand why he did it because he's from Carolina.
You
If it
can't
wasn't
go
Carolina-
out there, call the toss that you're not supposed to be a part of, that you're a captain, and be like, you know what, we want to defend even though they want to receive. You just can't do that.
I mean,
That's
it's
just bananas.
what's more bananas is this is a must-win game for the both teams here. Whichever team does not win, theoretically, their chances of making the playoffs drop dramatically.
Man.
So we're gonna suspend our top corner for just going out and pretending to be a captain. He didn't even really do anything that bad. It's not like he flipped anybody off or was like the Jets D lineman last night, screaming to the crowd, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, as he was leaving.
You're cool. Fuck you.
You're cool. You're cool. Fuck you. You're cool.
Fuck you. But yeah,
I can
so like
respect that.
it's a little odd, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
There's got to be more to it.
I love that here.
Hopefully.
Been blocking QBs all week. My opponent just picked up Hall. Yes, yes, yes.
See, that's bad karma right there. Now
no.
Jared Hall's here just dropped dick for no reason.
Angela, you're late. And my friend, we are just finishing up. Unfortunately,
I'm
we
late.
just
Sorry,
wrapped
Angelo.
up the Sunday
Don't worry.
night
You
game.
can watch it all over again after this ends.
He could probably just actually rewind it now if he doesn't care to hear us say our goodbyes. But guys, it's been an absolutely awesome season. And from Angelo to Jamie being here every week to Albert being here every week, guys, if you weren't here, we honestly wouldn't have as much fun doing this. We appreciate you guys being a part of it. And it's been an absolute great season. And I hope we helped you guys along the way. I hope we entertained you guys along the way. And honestly, if you guys have any questions moving forward, don't be afraid to hit us up in our Discord if you're there, on Twitter, wherever you want. If you have any ideas for the show to make our show better, I have no problem hearing you out on that. We're always open for suggestions.
Yep, just hit up Dylan's Gmail, dclemens22222 at gmail.com. It's that easy.
Yep, absolutely. Just throw my email out there, Mike. I got no problem with
You're the one who makes it. You're the one that makes your Twitter at the same thing as your email. How is that our fault?
Make sure you guys
absolutely
check
love
out Dylan's new show, by the way, whenever he brings that out.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll make sure you check out the Sunday Social as well. For one more week, LaPlante and I will be there. Unfortunately, Ike, this is probably the last time that we're going to see you on camera for at least a month, right? Before we start getting into off-season content, maybe start talking draft stuff soon after the Super Bowl, maybe.
You gonna draw out that hair again?
No, I'm down with the long hair.
I'm sure you're looking forward to some time off like we all are. But yeah, guys, please hit that like button on your way out. Please subscribe to the channel if you're not already. And yeah, like I said, we appreciate everything.
Angelo.
Yeah, I would.
I like
it.
I love it.
Just
and then,
standing right in the corner right there. Fuck it.
Jamie says longer shows.
I don't know if I can handle that.
Yeah,
Ike's out on that for sure.
I could be a 12-pack deep if it's a longer show.
But all right, guys, Mike and I will be back on Sunday doing our Start Sit show, along with Alan will be here with his best bets of the week, along with Joe Bond doing rankings. So make sure to check out the Fantasy Six Pack YouTube channel on Sunday, starting at 10:30 Eastern time. But until then, for Mike and Ike, I'm Dylan. We'll talk at you next time.
Peace out. Have a happy new year.